This is huge. Looks like PlayStation 5 Pro is in development and it's coming out soon. This news comes from a very reliable source, so let's look into this. But before we look into it, let's check iniba.com. They offer games for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo and PC. They've got Hogwarts Legacy on sale, Destiny 2, you can get it cheaper here too. Spring sale is still going on and we'll check some of these games too. And there's World of Warship where you can actually get some extra credit for playing the game. All you have to do is just claim the bonus and register on their website and you're done. You can actually spend all that credit on all in-game purchases, I guess, right? So let's check some of the spring sale too. There's actually plenty of great games. Oh, Mafia, this is such a good game, by the way. But let's check Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, because why not? That's a great game as well. And as you can see, you can get it cheaper here. And you can actually save some extra money by buying this game or add it to a cart, and then you can actually add more games to it. And now, as you can see, we just saved almost $2. And now all you have to do is just proceed to checkout and select a payment of your choice and you're done. So guys, remember iniba.com, check them out. I'm sure you will find something for you too. Okay, so let's talk about PlayStation 5 Pro. Can you believe it? It's coming. Well, it's not here. I just wanted to say that it's coming, it's here, but it's not here, not yet, but apparently it's coming out pretty soon. Now, this information is courtesy of Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming, and we'll talk about that article in a minute. But I just want to say this first, because a couple of days ago I made a video where I basically said that I don't believe that we will get these mid-gen console upgrades. And looks like I was wrong, and you know what, I'm actually happy that I'm wrong. So you see, sometimes it's actually good to be wrong, okay? Now obviously this is still not official information, it's not that Sony confirmed that, but we've got, like I said, Tom Henderson over here with some information that he shared on his website. So you will find the link in the description of this video below to that article. And basically what he says here is that, apparently this PlayStation 5 Pro is in development and they say could release late 2024. So even when I used to think that Pro versions of consoles would come out, even back then I would say I was of an opinion that we would have to wait at least until 2025. But looks like that's not really the case. But anyway, let's check the article, okay? So Insider Gaming sources have confirmed that the PlayStation 5 Pro is in development and could release with a tentative release date of late 2024. Insider Gaming previously reported that a new PlayStation 5 with a detachable disk drive is scheduled to release later this year, and I reported on that already as well. It's understood that this new model will phase out the current PlayStation 5 to cut down on production and shipping costs. In spite of the widespread reports, this is not the PlayStation 5 Pro model, so that PlayStation 5 with detachable disk drive. This is just the beginning of the new hardware coming to PlayStation 5 users this generation, said one of the sources when talking about the detachable disk drive console. As for that PlayStation 5 specs will entail, details are limited, and I think they meant PlayStation 5 Pro, because obviously we have to separate two things really. There's PlayStation 5 Pro talk about in this article, but they also talk about PlayStation 5 kind of slim, if you know what I mean. So like a new model of the same console. So with PlayStation 5, slim, let's call it for lack of better word for now. So PlayStation 5 Slim will just be probably smaller, will draw less energy, and will come with detachable disk drive. But that's really going to be the same PlayStation 5 when it comes to running games the same way the current PlayStation 5 does, right? while PlayStation 5 Pro obviously is all about like better specs and that kind of stuff. So let's talk about Pro then. This is just the beginning of new hardware coming to PlayStation users this generation, said one source when talking about the detachable disk drive console. So he was kind of suggesting back then that even when he was talking about that PlayStation 5 Slim, he was saying that this is just one of the new hardware coming. I'm sure that he meant PlayStation VR 2, but it's out now, right? As for what the PlayStation 5 Pro specs will entail, details are limited. However, a recent published patent by PlayStation architect Mark Cerny suggests that Sony Interactive Entertainment is looking to accelerate ray tracing performance in video games. Just like with PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 4 Pro, we can generally guess pretty confidently that the PlayStation Pro will have increased visuals, performance and speed, but as for leaked details, we will have to wait until a later date to release those. I'm not sure if they actually have those numbers or not. I would imagine so, because if and that's a big if, PlayStation 5 Pro is coming next year, they should have specs pretty much locked down, and they probably have early prototypes probably. Insider Gaming understands that the next generation of PlayStation, the PlayStation 6, is unlikely to release until at least 2028, and I was actually talking about in some other video as well, because the Xbox Activision acquisition showed us, thanks to some insider documents, that next generation, like a proper next generation, is not coming until at least 2028, so that's a long wait. Also, what else? That's actually nothing to do with PlayStation 5 Pro. As for what happened here? What's going on? As for if the PlayStation 5 Pro makes sense remains to be seen. The current generation console market has seemingly only just stabilized following the chip shortages, and developers still need to release past generation to sell more units. Sony is expecting a massive year 23 for console until units sold through of around 30.5 million units. But anyway, so that's talking about like sales numbers and stuff, boring stuff really. Listen, Tom Henderson is a good insider, and in a sense that he's got quite a lot of stuff right. Like, he knows his stuff. I can't remember him being wrong recently. He might have been like wrong about the date or something, but not actually about things happening or whatever, right? So I actually do believe him, and if that's really the case, and if the date of late 2024 is true, I mean, things may change still, guys. That would be cool. And like, I haven't really done any analysis on it, and I'll probably do that later. But like 3 nanometers should actually be available early next year for these consoles production, because they would need to go like shift to 3 nanometers in my opinion for these consoles. I mean, they could try with 5 nanometers, but that would not give them a big boost, so that would make the console pretty expensive in my opinion. But I guess focusing on ray tracing makes sense. And just like PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X last generation were both all about 4K, so it looks like this generation, these Pro consoles, will be all about ray tracing. And that makes sense, because currently, in order to play these games with ray tracing on, they have to cut down on visuals, performance, meaning frame rates. In most of these games with ray tracing on run at 30 frames per second. So yeah, well, that makes sense. And on top of that, like, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want a more powerful console? Like, you know, I'm still kind of, I'm still conscious of the price. You know, these probably not going to come cheap, but I mean, who cares, right? Like, you know, a good PC costs quite a lot of money anyway. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. That potentially could mean that Xbox Series Pro may be coming later on this generation as well, and that would, I mean, you know what? But anyway, I'll probably make another video about Xbox Series upgrades maybe tomorrow, because I've got some thoughts on it. Because at one hand, it makes sense for them to make these Pro consoles. I'm talking about Xbox as well, but on the other hand, not really. There's pros and cons. I'm sure that developers will not be happy about it, because that's yet another SKU to support. But it's not really the same support as with current situation, where they have to support last generation, which are very underpowered consoles by today's standard, and they have to still support, obviously, current gen consoles, and they can't really move on. But, you know, with Pro versions of the consoles, like, development process is pretty much the same. You just basically provide more power to, you know, run the same game at higher resolutions, higher fidelity, and, you know, extra ray tracing options, which are already available on PC, by the way. And, you know, ray tracing actually means less work for developers, believe it or not, so it makes sense. But anyway, that's the video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for support. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will have actually more videos on that. I'll actually do some extra digging. I'll have a video on Xbox Pro and some other thoughts on PlayStation 5 Pro. And I think it's too early to talk about specs and stuff, but we could always talk about what's potentially could be available like next year for consoles. It's pretty easy to kind of predict, I would say, right? But anyway, guys, that's the video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for support, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.